Hey everybody, and welcome to the video. This is Josh here, and today we're going to be doing another Q&A. I normally poll everybody over at Instagram for questions, but YouTube just came out with that new platform. I'd put a post up for you guys, and you guys came through amazingly with some awesome questions, so we're just going to jump right into it. Alright, so the first question comes from Brian Montenegro, and he had asked, what are your feelings of Portland, pros and cons, favorite hikes in the Portland area? This was a great question. Thank you, Brian. Yeah, Portland in general is amazing. The food out here is great. The scenery is great. The city is great. It is just all around an amazing place to live. If I had to pick any negatives, it would be one, the weather. It gets pretty gloomy here in the winter months. Luckily this year has been much better than last year. The only other real negative here, there is a significant homeless problem throughout the entire city. I've had to actually sweep up heroin needles outside of my store at work. There's a lot of trash around. There's a lot of people sleeping on the streets. That is a big problem they have not quite figured out what to do about, it seems like. But in general, it is just an amazing place to live. And then as far as favorite hikes in the area, I posted a video a couple of weeks ago called Why I Moved to Portland, Oregon. That shows you my favorite hike in the entire city. It's McClay Park. It's a part of Forest Park, which is a bigger, I think it's a 500-acre park in the city limits. It's my favorite place to go in the whole city. Beyond that, a ways outside of town, there's Smith Rock. I went there in my trip to Bend. That was probably my favorite hike I've ever been on. A little bit further away from the city though. Next question comes from P. Paul, and they had asked, have you ever thought of doing genetic testing to see what your optimal healthy diet would be? Also, what are your favorite fitness apps? I have not thought about that, but I would love to do that. I'm a sucker for any sort of testing or data. I think that would be a super interesting thing to do. To be honest, I'm not really familiar with what test you're referring to. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know if you have any more info about that. I'd love to look into it. That'd be a cool thing for the channel too. And for fitness apps, I don't really have any dedicated fitness apps that I use and would recommend, but there's a later question in this asking about weight loss apps. I made a walk with me video covering all of my favorite weight loss apps. That'll be up on Monday. It was a really great topic idea I wanted to take a little bit more time on, so just keep an eye out for Monday, 8 a.m. It'll be up. Next question, do you think it is better to weigh food out raw or cooked when tracking your macros? You definitely want to weigh things out raw. Most of the information out there is based off of the raw food, so you always want to weigh it beforehand. A lot of times you lose moisture when you cook something, so it makes the calories a little bit more dense versus raw. You want to weigh out raw first, always. Next question comes from Katrina Kaluza. They had asked, do you know any good alternatives for people that have dietary restrictions like lactose intolerance and gluten intolerance? I am lucky enough to not be plagued with those issues, so I'm probably not the best person to ask for this. But in general, gluten intolerance, almond flour is a really great substitute for anything that you normally use white flour for. But beyond that, I don't really have any good tips or advice. I'm sure there's some gluten-free YouTubers out there that would have a ton of great info. If you know of any, leave them down below. And as far as lactose intolerance, I made the switch to almond and cashew milk a few years ago, not necessarily out of my lactose intolerance, but just out of preference of taste. I would lean heavily on those. I think they're delicious. They're a little bit lower in calories as well. I do eat cheese and yogurt and things on occasion, but I don't typically eat a lot of dairy. Sorry for the crappy answer with this. It's just, I'm lucky enough to not have to deal with that stuff, so I haven't done a ton of research. Alright, next question comes from Last Call. What's your favorite movie? Broken down by some general categories: horror, comedy, drama, action, and all-time favorite. This is a super difficult question for me. I tend to have a ton of favorites when it comes to music, TV shows, bands, all that sort of stuff. So these answers aren't necessarily my on-the-record favorite for each genre, but it's just the best I can think of right now. For horror movies, the original Paranormal Activity and then also Sinister are probably my two favorite that come to mind. I'm a sucker for any sort of supernatural, ghost, demon sort of horror movie. And if it's a found footage supernatural movie, no matter how crappy it is, I'm probably gonna love it. Comedy movies. This is a really difficult one. If you would have asked me when I was a teenager, it would have been Office Space. Forgetting Sarah Marshall might be my favorite. I don't know if I'd necessarily call that a comedy though, but it is hilarious. I watched that movie probably 100 times since it's come out. Definitely one of my favorites. Favorite drama movie. First thing that comes to mind is Away We Go. Also Drive or Place Beyond the Pines. Favorite action movie. Not really sure about this one. I'm not a big action movie person. Any sort of heist movie. An all-time favorite, I would have to probably reserve this for Lord of the Rings or Star Wars. I almost treat those as a whole separate category from normal movies, but definitely my, if I had to pick an all-time favorite, it would be either of those two franchises. Alright, next question comes from Anagen. I apologize, I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce your last name. I know I'll butcher it. But you had asked, how often did you work out per week while you were losing weight? You know, this varied a lot over the years. There were times where I was doing nothing but walking. There were times where I was working out 6 days a week and literally everything in between. I'm going to focus my answer on what I did when I was finishing up my weight loss, just because that was when I was most knowledgeable and informed. I worked out 6 days a week. That was right around when I was starting to get into bodybuilding and weightlifting. So I'd go to the gym 6 days a week, 1 rest day, and also mixed in there, I was really getting into cycling at that point. The YouTube channel sucked up most of my free time, so I haven't been able to do much cycling in the last couple of years. But yeah, I went cycling a couple times a week, went to the gym for weightlifting and some occasional cardio. I've made videos on this before. Do however much you can. Weight is lost in the kitchen and not the gym, so you want to make sure and put your focus and attention and willpower all on your diet, and fit in whatever sort of exercise or activity that you enjoy that fits into your life just as much as you can. So if that means you can only walk 15 to 30 minutes 2-3 times a week, that's perfectly fine. If you have the time and the energy and the desire to go to the gym 7 days a week and do bodybuilding workouts or do long cardio or anything, that's great too. Fit in however much you can fit in, and make sure your focus remains on your diet. Alright, next question comes from Eric Montgomery. He's moving out to Portland probably about 30 days, maybe less by the time this comes out. What kind of food snacks do you carry when walking around to work or leisure? I have a handful of things. You know, a lot of times I will keep honey roasted peanuts in my backpack. Actually, let me show you. So I have a dedicated snack pouch in my backpack. Lately, I've been having these. They're enlightened broad beans. I know I've posted on them on Instagram and put them in the newsletter already, so you probably know what these are already, but they are amazing. The other big common thing beside those are honey roasted peanuts. I made a recipe video a few months ago for trail mix bars. That's probably my favorite snack or treat I've ever created. I always have a batch of those made and ready and on hand. They're customizable, so you can kind of put whatever you want in there. But those trail mix bars, they take like 5-10 minutes to make, and they're delicious. Next question comes from Adam Toms, and they had asked, did you find any tech or apps that helped with your weight loss, or did you find it impeded your weight loss? Definitely did not impede my weight loss. I mentioned earlier, the video's coming out Monday. Thank you so much, Adam, for the awesome idea. So keep an eye out for Monday. Alright, next question comes from Evil Dr. Mainstream. What are good post and pre-workout meals? Honestly, with this, whatever fits best into your day. I don't tend to do a lot of pre and post workout meals. I do my training fasted in the mornings just because I do intermittent fasting. I usually don't eat until noon. Lately I've been working out with resistance bands at work before I open, and that's usually around 9 to 10 o'clock, so I always train fasted. I've eaten before I've trained in the past. I almost preferred to train fasted. It fits better into my schedule, but then also if I eat too much, feel like I don't work out quite as well, but any sort of carb heavy meal pre-workout and a carb and protein heavy meal post-workout is usually going to be ideal if you're looking to build muscle. If you're working out mainly for general fitness and weight loss, don't even worry about pre and post-workout meals. Just eat your normal diet, you'll be just fine. All right, Incredible India asked, can the intensity of a workout affect weight loss? I'm just walking to burn off calories. Do you think walking alone will suffice? If not, how can I lose weight? I don't understand the calorie thing. I was told to burn as many as I eat, but I eat 2,100 and only burn 400 through walking and exercise. How can one burn as many calories as they eat? By the way, how's your cat? Wolfie's doing amazing. I'll put a picture of him or something. He is about to turn 4 months old. Bundle of energy. But for the calorie burning, there's something called a basal metabolic rate. You'll see it as BMR a lot of times. And that is essentially how many calories you burn throughout the day just from existing. If you were to lay in bed and not move, not do anything, you'd still burn this many calories, and that's called your BMR. You know, it depends a lot on the person, obviously, but for me, last I checked, my BMR was somewhere around 1,900 calories. So by default, if you do zero exercise or zero anything at all, you're still burning all of those calories. So the activity of just being awake and walking and moving around will burn extra on top of that, and then any sort of exercise will burn extra on top of that. You definitely don't need to work out 2,000 calories worth every day. I can definitely see where the confusion comes from though. But I'll put a link to calculate your BMR down below or up in one of these corners here. But yeah, just a couple of minutes, you can get a rough idea of what that BMR is, and that'll just let you know how many calories you burn in a day, and you can go from there. Alright, next question comes from the Raptor. I want to encourage my significant other into eating better, but she's still stuck in her old ways. Do you have any suggestions into persuading her into making the big changes? Love the channel, keep it up. Thanks so much for the support. This is a very difficult situation though. Coming from the old 27-year-old married guy here, lead by example. If he or she sees that you're making those changes and it's impacting your life positively, and you have more energy and you're sleeping better and you're losing weight and you're happy, if she sees all of those changes in you from your healthier living, they'll probably be a lot more inclined. The other options with that, have the better food options and everything more easily accessible and available. You can't force anyone to lose weight or make any of those changes. It's not your decision. It has to come from within. A lot of times if you try and force and push too hard, it's going to push them away into an even more unhealthy lifestyle. I would be encouraging, but I would not try and nudge or persuade them into making any changes. Lead by example, and they have to come to their own conclusions and decide themselves. All right, and the last several questions all come from that keto girl, and she had asked, what are your fitness goals? Honestly, right now, maintenance. I would love to have a little bit more time and effort to put into bodybuilding and weightlifting, but I really just don't right now. Between Wolfie and the YouTube channel, and my normal full-time job and all the other stuff I have going on right now, I feel like I can't really put in the attention right now to do much more than maintaining my current muscle mass and maintaining my current weight. So my fitness goals are for things to stay the same, as unexciting as that is. Do you miss anything from before keto? I don't follow keto. I never have. Does your wife eat keto? No, she doesn't. But that is going to wrap it up. Thank you guys all so much for all of the great questions. But make sure to like the video if you enjoyed this. I always have fun making these. Hopefully you guys enjoy watching them. And subscribe if you are new. I put out new videos every Monday and Friday. But until next time, I'll talk to all you guys later. Have a good one.